as we had never been up there day or night. But before Gabby could call him on it, Mando squeaked, "At night?" "Sure," Nicholin cried. "I hear the scavengers will eat you if they can," Kristen said. "Is your pa going to let you leave doctoring and farming during the day?" Nicholin asked Mando. "Well, it's the same with all of us, only more so. This gang has got to do its business at night." He lowered his voice. "That's the only time to be grave robbing in a cemetery anyway," laughing at the look on Mando's face. "Grave robbing at the beach you can do any time of day," I said, half to myself. "I could get the shovels," Del said. "And I could bring a lantern," Mando said quickly, to show he wasn't scared. And suddenly we were talking a plan. I perked up and paid more attention, a bit surprised. Nicholin and I had outlined a number of schemes before: trapping a tiger in the back country, diving for sunken treasure on the concrete reef, extracting the silver contained in old railroad tracks by melting them. But most of these proposals had certain practical difficulties to them that became apparent at some time or other in the discussion, and we let them slide. They were just talk. With this particular plan, however, all we had to do was sneak up into the ruins, something we always swore we really wanted to do, and dig. So we talked about which night the scavengers were least likely to be out and about. Full moon, Nicholin assured Mando, when the ghosts were visible, who we might ask to come along, who it would have to be kept secret from, how we could chop the silver handles into tradable discs, and so forth. Then the ocean was lapping at the red rim of the sun, and it got a good deal colder. Gabby stood up and kneaded his butt, talking about the venison supper he was going to have that night. The rest of us got up too. "We're really going to do this one," Nicholin said intently. "And by God, I'm ready for it." As we walked up from the point, I took myself off from the rest and followed the cliff's edge. Out on the wide beach, the tidal puddles streaking the sand were a dark silver banded with red, little models of the vast ocean surging beyond them. On the other side of me was the valley, our valley, winding up into the hills that crowded the sea. The trees of the forest blanketing the hills all waved their branches in the sunset onshore wind, and their late spring greens were tinted pollen color by the drowning sun. For miles up and down the curving reach of the coast, the forest tossed, fir and spruce and pine like the hair of a living creature, and as I walked I felt the wind toss my hair too. On the ravine-creased hillsides not one sign of man could be seen, though they were there. There was nothing but trees, tall and short, redwood and Tory pine and eucalyptus, dark green hills cascading into the sea. And as I walked the amber cliff's edge, I was happy. I didn't have the slightest notion that my friends and I were starting a summer that would change us. As I write this account of those months, deep in the harshest winter I have ever known, I have the advantage of time past, and I can see that this excursion in search of silver was the start of it, not so much because of what happened, understand, but because of what didn't happen, because of the ways in which we were deceived, because of what it gave us a taste for. I was hungry, you see, not just for food, that was a constant, but for a life that was more than fishing and hoeing weeds and checking snares, and Nicholin was hungrier than I. But I'm getting ahead of my story. As I strolled the steep sandstone border between forest and sea, I had no premonition of what was to come, nor any heed for the warnings of the old man. I was just excited by the thought of an adventure. As I turned up the south path towards the little cabin that my pa and I shared, the smells of pine and sea salt raked the insides of my nose and made me drunk with hunger. And happily I imagined chips of silver the size of a dozen dimes. It occurred to me that my friends and I were for the very first time in our lives actually going to do what we had so often boastfully planned to do, and at the thought I felt a thrilling shiver of anticipation. I leaped from root to root in the trail. We were invading the territory of the scavengers, venturing north into the ruins of Orange County. The night we picked to do it, fog was smoking up off the ocean and gusting on shore, under a quarter moon that gave all the white mist patches a faint glow. I waited just inside the door.